Hello, and welcome to your NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday, the 3rd of August 2026, brought to you on the 4th of August this week for the first time. I don't think I've been late that much in this last wee while. Sometimes it's been published a wee bit later, but I'll tell you about that in a wee minute. But this, of course, is brought to you by our partners at SEKO, your no-nonsense end-to-end logistics partner. Always delighted to give them a mention and thank them very, very much for the support at the beginning of each pod. It's Gary here, and I was hoping to record this yesterday when Leo and I arrived in Berlin, and the time just beat us. We got in here, what time was that? Like maybe mid-afternoon-ish or thereabouts, and then we were basically just out and about in the city to see what was what out there and grab a bite to eat and things. And then by the time I got home, I was kind of thinking I could record it last night, and I was absolutely done in last night. So I had a bit of a heavy weekend, kind of partly because of Rangers starting the whole thing on Friday afternoon, which ended up being Friday night for me, as in I couldn't leave the pub because I'm just too greedy, and then that spilled into a 50th birthday party on Saturday. So it was a long journey in every single sense of the word over to Germany, but back after a good sleep here and really looking forward to the rest of the day. And of course, starting off giving you the latest Rangers news from an NARSA perspective on this wonderful week. And it kind of looks like Rangers are back in every sense of the word. There's not really a whole hell of a lot of a difference between, I mean, there's the personnel difference, of course, but not a lot of difference in terms of how we feel about the team and how we have performed as a team in the first competitive game of the season. Just, it brought back, do you know what it is? It's emotional scarring for me, and these emotional scars are going to take a long time to heal. They're not healed yet at all. And when you have a first half like that in the season, it's a tough gig to kind of come back from, and yeah, there's 37 games to go. We're always playing catch up. I think that was the fourth season in a row we haven't won the first game of the season, and then you're automatically playing catch up because you know that mob from the East End are going to win their first game, which they eked out a victory there, and it's just not good enough, you know. And then the manager comes out afterwards and here's the thing. Yeah, he kind of basically said, you know, we need these players in straight away. And my first thought when I heard him saying that was, you've got 8, man. You know, I mean, that's almost a full team that you got, and you still couldn't beat Dundee United away from home. Now, I'm talking about literal, you know, replacement of players from last season and stuff like that. I know that 8 doesn't work out exactly as 8 brand new players on the first team starting, but kind of most of them did, and it's yeah, man, I don't know. I'll get to that in the game segment. But in terms of actual new players, it looks like we've got a winger organised now, and it's a fellow by the name of Daisuke Yakota. I think I'm kind of close there. Japanese winger from Hanover, and it looks like he fits the bill for a whole bunch of things. I think 26 years old. They're about 3 or 4 million euros in total, I think, for the winger there. So I'm assuming that will be one of a couple of wingers that will come in this month here. I don't know that all of our problems on Friday's game was related to the wingers, if you know what I mean. Yes, we didn't create enough chances and give our strikers enough opportunity to try and get the ball in the back of the net, but our defence was kind of all over the place, and another garbage goal to lose, like a bizarre garbage goal to lose, to give us that sinking feeling at the beginning of the season. There is a long way to go, of course, but it would have just, in for every sense of the word, just to get off to that first victory, because now Derek McInnes doesn't have a victory on his CV yet, and we go into a very, very critical game on Thursday night, and we might not win that game on Thursday night, and then that's 2, and then we play at Hibs play at Ibrox on Sunday, and we know that they're going to come all hell for leather as well after they didn't get off to a great start. So there could be, just within 5 minutes here, there could be something, you know, very, very nervy about the club, or, you know, we get a good result on Thursday and then take that into Sunday, and then things are kind of right-sizing themselves. Who knows? We'll see exactly what that looks like. But yeah, on to the game segment. Not a lot to say about the game. We obviously 1-1 at Tannadice, and years gone past, 1-1 at Tannadice would have been a good result, depending on where we're at in the season, but it was just awful. It was just a terrible, ridiculously bad first half, where you're thinking, what are these guys doing? And I know that you got a couple of pre-season games, and I know that these guys are professional football players and they're paid to play football, but it was as if they had just kind of woken up, and for the most part, certainly in the first half, and they just kind of went, right, okay, so competitive stuff. How does this work here in Scotland? What do we do? And like, what can the staff and the management team do to say you need to go there and play as if your absolute life depended on this and go out hell for leather? Rangers very, very rarely ever do that. If it happens, it's almost kind of like a fluke where things just click on a particular day rather than an intention when you're going in and saying, right, we're going to just batter these guys and see what they've got and see how they act and react. And it was kind of interesting because Friday night, first game of the season, Dundee United are already, what would that be, 4 games in through the League Cup qualifying group stage thing that happens, and Tannadice was kind of half empty. So I don't know if that's a sign of the times for them as a club, or just it was bad timing in terms of people being on holiday, or whatever that looks like. But excuse me, it was just a very, very poor first half. Not a lot to really celebrate. And there we obviously lost the goal. When was that now? I can't even remember the timing of the goal, but it was just a bizarre move. We never really got close at all. Powder puff tackling from the midfield to get into the position. The guy never meant it. The guy just kind of automatically stuck his foot out, and then it trundles into the net and he runs away as if he scored a worldie. Get a grip, man, and shave that moustache as well. You look kind of ridiculous, but it was a very, very poor goal to lose. Our defence was kind of all over the place, certainly in that period of the game. We get the equaliser from Tello Asgard. He's starting the season well, and I didn't actually realise until the weekend there that he had came back from this World Cup leave early. He'd had 4 or 5 or 6 maybe days off after the World Cup and then came straight back. And he talked about that in the post-match interview, saying, I wanted to come back and prove to the manager that I'm ready for my place here. And that's the sort of attitude. You've got a year of experience behind you, quite an up and down year for Tello Asgard particularly. And then he goes to the World Cup, has a good World Cup, scores against France in the World Cup, and is training with world-class players for, what was that, 4 or 5 weeks, whatever it was. And then he comes back and wants to prove a point, and looks like Derek McInnes is going to give him that chance. So I've said there's a player in there. I was not one of the guys on the bandwagon trying to get rid of Tello Asgard, and if he was going to stick around and give us some real good service, then I think that would be a great thing for us overall. But he thunders in the equaliser, and at that point, the atmosphere in the club, I think we had 16 down in Calgary there and Friday afternoon, which was brilliant, and the atmosphere in the club was, right, we're going to go on and win this. And then the team just kind of stopped after the equaliser, after a few minutes, like maybe 5 minutes or so after the equaliser, where we're in a situation where it's the same old story, where there's just huff and puff and not really a lot happening, and nothing really. The goalie had a couple of saves, and if you look at the stats, which I'll get to in a second here, the stats are all right, but it just wasn't enough to win the game. Obviously, it wasn't enough to win the game because we didn't win the game, but it didn't feel like the right type of style of energy and effort and endeavour, and I don't know, they're stop short of saying caring, but it looks like with some of the body language where some of the players are just kind of resigned to the fact that we're not going to win the game, and that's not good enough at all. So 1-1 is where it ended. Now, one of the things is that Rab in our club, Rab Law, he had, and I agree with him, he had said we didn't look like a complete bomb scare at the back, like we have looked like in times gone by, seasons gone by, last season, at the end of last season for sure, in particular. And I kind of get that. I didn't feel like we were going to lose a goal at the end, so there wasn't that dreaded feeling where you're like, please blow the whistle, ref, because we're really on the ropes here. But we still need to create chances, and I don't think we're just one winger short. Like, we've got midfielders who are supposed to be able to do that for us. We've got other players there that are supposed to be able to create chances, and only Tello Asgard did, and he kind of created it for himself. So in terms of the positives, first positives for the season, a point. We'd like one more point than we had this time last week, I guess. But other than that, not a whole hell of a lot in terms of performance, in terms of endeavour, in terms of optimism for us looking to the season and saying, you know what, this is going to actually work out really, really well. There's a core here of brilliance that once these guys click, that we're going to be in much, much better shape. But take a point from Tannadice. There's going to be other teams that will go to Tannadice that are involved in a title race that will struggle to get a victory there as well, I would think. In terms of negatives, the goal we lost, as I mentioned, was just comedy. Of course, we start the season with an injury for a new player, Ben Godfrey. I just heard last night that he's going to be out for about, is it 4 to 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. So it's a kind of bit of a same old. Some of these players just, I don't know, they just don't get up to speed as quickly as we would want them to get up to speed, which is a bit of a shame. And just the feeling that I have, it's just the same old story with this particular team to start off a league campaign, and it's getting kind of old. It really is. So it would be great if we could pick that back up big time on the weekend here and get back on track. In terms of the possession, what I was talking about earlier, with 54% possession away from home it's always good to be in the black in terms of possession. And we had 14 shots on target, 14 shots on goal with 6 on target versus 7 shots on goal with 3 on target. So they had a 30% record and we had a less than 20% record. I guess that is. And some of the saves that their goalie made, Shankland had a couple of chances. He did not have a good league debut at all. He wasn't getting any service at all. And, their goalie had a couple of saves that I thought he made a meal of, to be honest, making it trying to look a wee bit better for the cameras maybe or something. I don't know. But yeah, our forward line needs a lot of work. Needs a lot of work to be able to create some chances. We need these guys to get off the mark as quickly as possible. In terms of the ref watch, Nick Walsh, I kind of dreaded the fact that he was in our first game because I just don't think he's a good referee, and I don't think he's very impartial when it comes to matters of Rangers. But he didn't really do anything that I seen that kind of annoyed me. Nothing that I recall anyway. Now, the caveat being that I had a couple of beers during the game, so maybe there was something in there. But I did watch the replay, the highlights back last night, and there was nothing in particular that I saw that was of very much consequence in terms of his input to the game. So he's going to get the standard 7 out of 10 for that, and just kind of keep that sort of thing going. So in terms of our next games, we do have the Europa League game that I mentioned a wee bit earlier there, and that is away to... I can't even remember the name now. I'm not even going to try it. Well, okay. Jagiellonia Bialystok. I can't wait till next week, so that's the last time I need to say it. And that's at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. UK kickoff time. And we did learn, I think it was yesterday, that if we get through this tie, we will play either Larn or Iberia Tbilisi. Forgive me again, and that will get us access to the Conference League. That's a playoff of the Conference League if we get through the Polish team here. So we'll see how that goes. And if we get through the winners of that time, we're going to be playing on the 20th and 27th of August. So I mentioned before, the games are coming thick and fast here in August for us. And if we get beat, we also know that we would play FK Jablonec or FC RFS in the Europa League. Sorry, in the Europa League, in the Conference League playoff to get to that group stage as well. I'd much rather not be in the Conference League. I look at some of those guys. I don't even watch any. I didn't even watch the final or anything. And I know that it's a big deal if you get into the Conference League if you're from England, but not for us, man. That's not. I would rather not be down there if we can help it. And even then, of course, it's not a guarantee that we're going to make the group stages anyway. So we just need to pick things up and pick them up very, very quickly here. And of course, I did mention then on Sunday we're at home to Hibs, and that's an 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff, 4 p.m. in the UK. We just need to get to winning ways as quickly as we can here. In terms of shout-outs for this week, I actually got quite a few shout-outs this week. I did want to make a point of congratulating Lawrence Shankland on being appointed the formal Former after one bad game. That's not very nice, is it? Former Rangers captain on, I guess it was last week, maybe the beginning of last week, middle of last week, or something like that. And I put something online. It was actually on LinkedIn. Rangers are quite active on LinkedIn these days, and I put something on there just basically saying, I think it was the obvious choice. The obvious choice for me anyway was to have Lawrence Shankland there. Obviously a big Rangers fan and someone that we can identify with, and someone who has experience of being a captain in the Premier League in Scotland there. So good for him. I hope he has a better season than he had in terms of the first game, and I hope that he bangs in the goals for us and inspires the team to some victories, and hopefully the big one being the league championship, of course, and maybe even a league and cup double. I'll go maybe, or do you want to get greedy and just say the treble? Why not? We're at the early part of the season. We can be as enthusiastic as we want to be at this point. But congratulations to Lawrence Shankland, and I do wish you every success. It's going to be a tough gig taking over from James Tavernier. I mean, he was a generational captain for us in terms of some kids growing up and would only know him as a captain, and it did seem a wee bit strange having someone else with the armband on there. And in terms of something a wee bit on the more personal side, my beautiful niece, Chloe Carey, officially moved out of her mum and dad's house there and moved into her own apartment in downtown Calgary this past weekend. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal for the whole family, a big deal for Chloe, of course, and an even bigger deal for the now empty nesters, Debbie and Andy there, who are making adjustments to life now, just being on their own. And it's interesting. It came about very, very quickly towards the end of last week. Put an application in, got it accepted. I am moving tomorrow, and it was a long weekend here. And well, here is not long weekend because I'm in Berlin, but in Canada it was a long weekend there, so they got a chance to get her moved in, and I'm assuming that she's loving it and loving life on her own. It's always an exciting time, that sort of thing, and hopefully it's going to be many years until Leo does that, so that I don't have that empty nest sinking feeling there. Did get a shout out request. I think it was yesterday, I believe, on the NARSA WhatsApp chat from Toronto Midtown. And Toronto Midtown's Phil Reid is a proud dad, as his daughter Steph Reid, a former Great Britain Paralympic medalist, was on TNT Sports 2 covering the Commonwealth Games from Glasgow. I can't imagine how surreal that must be to just put on the TV if you've got one of these dodgy boxes that people have at times, and get to see a member of your family, like your daughter, your son, maybe your wife, your husband, like, whomever it would be, on the TV doing their job and commentating from an expert perspective on what it is they're seeing from the game's perspective. That must be great for Phil and family to be able to see that. So good for Steph and good for everyone there at Toronto Midtown. That's brilliant news. Absolutely great. I did want to say a thank you to Oliver Antman. He obviously left us and headed out the door, and any and all departing players. We've got some players out on loan for the season and such. It's thank you for your service. Thank you for trying. Thank you for doing what you could for the club, and all the very, very best to you in the future. Antman was a very, very fickle one, wasn't he? Because he had an absolutely brilliant debut when he joined us, and then had the injury and never really came back to hitting the heights of that one debut, which was too bad, because we were quite excited after that first game there. And on a kind of bit of a sadder front here, I heard on the weekend, or was it the weekend or maybe just the end of last week, that AC Milan and Italy legend Franco Baresi passed away at the age of 66. And I still haven't found out what happened to him. Usually they give you a wee bit of a tidbit. And I don't understand why articles do that. I really, truly don't. Like, the cause of death has not yet been revealed, or the family want to keep it private, or it was related to an illness, or it was a sudden passing or something like that, because that's the sort of thing that people want to know. I would want to know that all the time. And when it gets to someone that I know, if I ever have to break any news, I'll tell people what happened and see how it goes from there. But poor guy, 66 is not an age at all. In this day and age, especially for an athlete, someone who you would imagine had looked after himself for his whole career. It's such a long career, and obviously World Cup winner, Champions League winner, Serie A winner, and Serie A, I guess I should say, winner, and such. It's just awful news, and that came a week after. I just kind of missed the timing last week, and the week after Kevin Keegan passed away. I think he was 77. as well. So not as well, because it was 66, but 66 and 77 is getting a wee bit of a ring to it, I guess. But yeah, he'd passed away from cancer as well. And 77 doesn't feel like an age too. So two legends, genuine legends of the game, gone way too soon in the last week or so here. That's not good. Give your loved ones a hug, folks, and make sure that they know how much you love them, because you just never know. Another reminder that we do have the Rangers Ladies Lunch coming up this month, and that's on the 21st of August. If you're looking for your tickets, £75, and you'll get a deluxe gift bag with exclusive treats, I should say, from Harrods Beauty. And tickets are on sale right now, and there's a whole bunch of other things that are happening in terms of entertainment, and I'm assuming players will be showing up and such from there. On to the convention update. I don't have an update for you per se in terms of what exactly where we're going to be going, which I know is the news that people want to know, and I keep getting asked that myself. I'm sure most people on the executive do, but we are in the process. I mentioned last week, we are in the process of going out and different destinations, literally in different countries, looking at different options and opportunities for us, basically to say, right, where is the best place to go, and then we'll get together as a group and we'll talk about what that looks like and see what that see where we go from there. I am very conscious that we're now in August, of course, and I know that the team are as well, and we want to just get this locked in to see what's going to be best for us, and we'll see whether we're going to surprise all of our potential guests or we are going to have something a wee bit more stable. I guess we'll see what that looks like. We did have a NARSA executive meeting last week where we did talk through what was going to be happening in terms of that, some options and opportunities for locations and such. A wee bit of debate in there, and some healthy debate is always a good thing, I think. And we talked around, our ticket requesting process, communication, next steps, and things like that. So we're in a situation where we need to figure things out, and obviously we're just kind of wiping the sleep out of our eyes for the first game of the season. Hopefully everybody from a Rangers TV perspective had a good experience on the weekend there, and I know Dan's been working hard in the background to give us that opportunity to be able to make sure we have the service, and if there's any challenges with the service, that we get that organised. If you haven't got back to Dan about the RTV survey yet, please do so. It's very, very, very important. And of course, what's equally important is updating your contact details for the Rangers website and for our socials and such like that. I just had Leo moving around in the background then. I don't know where he's going. I asked him to stay still. So we'll see how that goes. In terms of communications for this week, there was no Gers guide, interestingly enough. And I don't like this. See, when we have a bad result and the communications goes dark from the club, I understand that I'm not the communications person and I'm not an expert in communications whatsoever, but you still need to come out and provide people with the staple stuff. Not just when things are going well. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was a long weekend back home in the UK and people had some time off or whatever, but it doesn't look good if we don't have a good result and then we just kind of go dark on almost all of the communication, and then we'll just wait till it gets better before we start communicating. So it doesn't give us an opportunity to look forward to the week, to the press conference for the European game, to the press conference for the domestic game that's coming up. Sometimes they double up that and do something on a Thursday night after the game, or maybe there may be something on Friday morning. We'll see what that looks like. But with the team travelling back, who knows actually whether that's going to work out or not. And the Rangers women's team are in action for the Champions League qualifiers this week as well. I didn't get a chance to look at the actual fixture list. I'm not exactly sure when it's going to be, but they don't start the league campaign for another couple of weeks yet. So another couple of weekends yet, I guess. So they're going to be in action, and they've struggled in the Champions League qualification stages for the last couple of years. So a few new players coming in the door, so hopefully that will help strengthen things up for Leanne Crichton's team and give them an opportunity to do some spectacular things in the Champions League and give themselves a chance to get off to the season with a flyer and see what happens there. There was one piece of communication that I did want to share with you today, and that was that I'm just going to actually read this part out here. Rangers is pleased to welcome Lynn Hughes, Carson Logan, Ross McAdam and Gary Tuach I'm sorry if I've butchered that, Gary, as the newest members of the club's Fan Advisory Board following a recruitment process that attracted 140 applications from across the support. So what happened was 3 folks left the Fan Advisory Board and 4 joined. So there's now 8 people on the Fan Advisory Board, and I'm assuming they're going to hold particular roles within the actual committee in and of itself. They're joined by, I believe it's Greg Mailer, our communications and marketing officer, and Greg Marshall as well, the supporter liaison officer. And they've actually had a good presence in terms of, you know, being involved in various conversations, publishing the minutes of the conversations they've been having with the club, and fighting for the things that are important to the fans across all cross sections of the fans as well. And I did take a quick peek. If you get a chance to look at the website article, it's actually really good, and they get a wee quick synopsis of each of the folks that are coming in, and all of them have significant leadership experience in their own personal careers, or I guess I should say professional careers, and that's certainly something to really celebrate and acknowledge and take forward from us. It's not someone who's never done anything like this before. It's not someone who maybe isn't, you know, understanding of how business works and how to communicate from a business perspective at that business level. So when they're dealing with a club, that's going to be a lot better for the fan base overall, that they're going to be able to do that with a level of experiential professionalism in there too. So congratulations to everyone there, and thank you to the outgoing members as well. And I know, being a volunteer for over 14 years in all things Rangers, that it's a significant commitment and investment, and it can become all consuming at times. So congratulations, and good for them. And if there's obviously anything that we could do from a NARSA perspective, please don't hesitate to reach out anytime. We'd be happy to help. One final reminder, just to follow us on our TikTok and Instagram channels. That's NARSA Comms, NARSACOMMS, and we would be delighted to see you there. And other than that, that is it for this week. Big week for us this week, with the European campaign starting proper on Thursday, and then trying to get to winning ways on Sunday. I'm flying back on Sunday, so I don't even think I'm going to get to see the game until I arrive back. So I don't know whether to try and stay away from it and then watch it when I get home, because we go home mid-afternoon or something. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't like missing any Rangers games at all, which is very, very unusual for me to do. But I booked this holiday long before the the fixtures were announced, so it's just one of these things. But we need to get back to winning ways in the league, and you know, none more so, or none better than to give Hibs a bit of a spanking as well, and that would make me feel kind of good. So as always, thank you very, very, very much for taking the time to tune in. If you're watching on YouTube, this is just my hotel room, and it's not a very nice view outside, but it's better than looking at the actual room itself, because it's not a very big room. I kind of forgot that Europe is kind of smaller than the rooms that we get in North America. So we're kind of lying on top of each other almost in the bedroom, but it's okay. I'm looking forward to a wonderful week with my beautiful baby boy here in Berlin. We've got a lot of cool stuff planned, and then we'll be back to normal on Monday, and the background will be normal, and hopefully the delivery will be back to normal as well. So thank you very much for taking the time to tune into this episode. Please do share it with someone that you think might enjoy it. Thanks as always to our partners at SEKO, and here's to a massive week. 2 victories would be great. Derek, please make that happen for us, and until next week, please do take care of yourselves, and all the very best. Okay, follow